Hi everyone, I'm Alex Fernbach, and soft focus way in the distance is Kara Vetter. Say hi, Kara.
Hello everybody.
So we're going to chat a little bit about the notion of virtual set and basically what it does and how it works. And I'll be really brief, and you guys ask questions. But basically, virtual set is production reimagined. It's a strategy to increase production value while decreasing cost. And it's our solution to the three words that producers hate to hear on set, and that is, while we're there. And we all hear this. We understand that agencies have needs from clients. They have electronic press kits and stills and behind the scenes and social media content and trade show things and meeting videos that they'd like to include in the production, and it all has to somehow come out of the budget that used to be 25% higher just a year ago. So basically, a virtual set is a strategy to, as I said, to increase production value while decreasing cost, and it's phenomenal. It's been used in Hollywood for years and years, and up until now, no one's really thought to install anything like this on the East Coast. And so we have a facility here in Hoboken, New Jersey, where we are able to package a pretty much turnkey solution to production. And the people who have seen this, you folks out there, have been rabidly enthusiastic. And once you see it, you say, how can I ever do anything the old way, the old hammer and nails way? So I'm going to get behind the camera for a second, and I'll quickly show you what the hardware implementation is, because that's always a good place to start. So really basically what we have is a slightly modified Epic in the studio. Let me get a little focus on here. There we go. And basically it has just a couple of hardware attachments that are unique. Up on top there is a gyroscope called AirTrack.
If you could
and
make the,
in the front is a camera. And that camera basically looks up at the ceiling and sees these markers. And the markers are all over our studio, as you can see. They're everywhere. And by sensing where those markers are, the camera knows, or the operating system knows, where the camera is. And the AirTrack device is a gyroscope that's very sensitive. That tells the computer system where it's pan, tilt, and rolled. And then there's also an encoder on the lens, back behind the lens, that tells the operating system where it's focused. That's basically the entire implementation. So somewhere in there is a red Epic. There it is. You can see Kara is right now in a jungle, but notice the fact that she is perfectly pinned to the floor, that there's no drifting whatsoever, and we can look up, and that's a roof element in the foreground, and tilt down into this world and see Kara. And after a while, kind of like in augmented reality, you completely lose the sense of green. You're now seeing this world as a complete composite. And the green disappears. So in terms of production value, you can see how easy and facile this is. There's really no real hardship. The deliverable in this, which I should explain what is the key deliverable here, is metadata, camera tracking data, which describes the position and orientation of the camera frame accurately to your actual camera, so that when you get into post, compositing is a snap. Notice there's no tracking markers on the green screen. There's nothing that needs removing. Basically, all the information comes from these telemetry devices. The deliverable is the tracking data, a rough composite that you would use to edit with, and a mat, so that you can combine your mat with your green screen element for more post-tweaking. The readily available elements that various resources have right now are many and ridiculously inexpensive. Clearly, you could spend a lot of money. You could make custom geometries and skin them and texture them and light them. But you can start off with readily available assets. I'll give you a quick, for example. Karen and I produced 3 commercials where we needed kitchens, and kitchens are expensive. A nice kitchen to design, to build, scenic, prop, is anywhere between $20,000 and $25,000. We've been doing this most of our career, so that's pretty much what it is. So for 3 kitchens, you'd be spending $75,000. We were able to get the kitchens built as virtual sets for under $10,000. And that doesn't mean that you've just saved $65,000, but you saved a huge chunk of that.
It almost means that you've saved the $65K. I mean, there are post costs, but they are minimal.
They're modest because the tools now are very well distributed, and no one is freaked out when they see green screen. I'd say 90% of everything I've shot in the last 10 years are elements that then somehow get composited into something or other. So the tools are very well distributed. The cost of using those tools have been greatly reduced. The cost of finding geometries are very reasonable. Certainly you could spend a ton of money. That's easy. Saving money is the trick. And I think we have a solution to doing that. Traditionally, green screen elements always seem to be pasted in front of whatever the background is. With the technology we have, we can put the live action in the middle of a CG environment, and the pre-visualization system immediately cuts mats and puts that person into that volume, into that space. So let's look at the monitor. You can actually start off on the virtual set and pan your subject in, and if the ceiling element is up too, what used to be ceiling like that is now
trees.
Trees.
Woo!
So you could pre-visualize something where you're under this awning, for example, and then push through and come down and find your subject. Sometimes you don't need a jungle or a kitchen. But say you have a complex shot that requires stabilizing. Well, we had a crane in here that was about 45 foot long and did this huge camera move. And it wasn't until they got into post that they realized that the crane had a little bit of oscillation when it was fully extended. And using the metadata, the stabilizing of it was a click of a mouse as opposed to literally a half a day, 3/4 of a day of painstaking fixing. So there's huge benefits just to having the metadata. If you wanted to include CG in your scene, if something has to be animated, for example, having being able to describe the camera move facilitates exactly how you need to orbit around that CG item. Through Motion Builder, we can actually not only combine a green screen element with a CG environment, but we can actually have live motion capture animating an object via Motion Builder. But even better and much simpler, if you had a backplate that was video, so say for example you had a view out a window, you can have full motion video played outside the window of a CG set with a live action performance inside. Okay, so this is the Great Wall of China, and this is a CG element, and it is a planoptically modeled background. I mentioned that the foreground, that the live action element doesn't have to be in the foreground of the CG. So let's roll her picture plane back so she could be on a little walkway outside the window. So watch what happens when instead of the picture plane being in the foreground, now we're outside.
I'm like, yo, Alex, let me inside this place. Alex, let me inside this place. Alex!
So you can kind of see how the picture plane can get moved. So it could be as deep as you want within the space. You're not limited to having the video plane be in the foreground. Now, these are low-res renders so that it doesn't clog up the machine. Obviously, this isn't final anything. You would basically do a color correct of your foreground to match the render of the background, and then do a nice composite, not this quick key that we have in the device. But the germane point here is that in minutes we can put someone into an environment, we can move around that environment, we can show parallax. Clients get it, directors can choreograph, DPs can light, actors get a sense of their space. Jungle Book was probably shot in a stage the size of a shoebox. The mantra during Jungle Book was, if the kid's not touching it, we're not building it. So they had a couple of mud puddles and a couple of logs and rocks. Okay, I'm simplifying it a little bit, but it was basically a CG environment. We chatted with our friends in California. They just finished doing the Ghostbusters movie with the all-women cast, and that's when we got involved, thinking it's time that we brought something like this to the East Coast. The miniseries Pan Am could not have been done cost efficiently without doing something like this. The entire terminal, the airplanes, everything was CG. They had some revolving doors and walkways and banisters, but some pillars, but by and large, the entire environment was CG. And if you go to our Vimeo page, it's Vimeo/Cobalt Stages, you'll see a quick demo of stuff, but
we do have a couple
Last
more
Stand,
questions.
Last Man on Earth, Alice in Wonderland, Jungle Book, which movie is that? Man of Steel. Tons of movies. This has become a go-to tool in the overall effects arsenal, and I think it's about time that we took advantage of the economies that Hollywood has been using forever, very convincingly, and applied it to the commercials and, well, certainly other things, but commercials can certainly benefit from this. Teen Wolf. I'm just looking at
Teen Wolf.
at stuff. Touch. Once Upon a Time. The list is endless. It's used a lot. Lighting is key. What you need to do is to design your background and come up with at least a medium res render of it, so you have an idea of how you want to light the scene. So you can buy these geometries and build something, but then light it for day, for night, for dusk, whatever the mood is, and then your DP looks at that and matches the lighting sensibility in terms of softness or hardness or color temperature, direction, contrast, and such. Blocking and moving around. My sense my suggestion would be anything that the talent needs to relate to or touch should be practical within the set. I wouldn't choose to key them without a floor. It would be better if the floor were practical. So if you had a living room or something, if you had an area rug and a couch, everything else could, for example, be CG. A coffee table could be real. Everything they touch could be real. But everything else could be in this virtual space. There really aren't pitfalls. I think you just have to plan maybe just a touch more because you don't have everything haptically available, practically available. You can't touch things that aren't there. But in terms of choreography, in terms of lighting and lensing, the system, we've mapped a full set of Leica lenses so that, and this is an interesting thing for the tech heads, we've mapped a set of Leica Summicron lenses so that the anomalies, the fingerprint, the essence of the lens is translated to your CG so that it feels identical, so that the anomalies of the lens, the character of the lens, the sharpness, the chromatic aberration or pincushion or barrel distortion, whatever the lens portrays in your real environment, it creates a map of and affects your CG environment. So the match is pretty perfect. You have to be agnostic about your tool set, and this isn't for every application, certainly, but for when a location would be impossible or cost prohibitive, or if you needed to cover 6-8 locations on the same day, this might be the appropriate tool. And since we own a significant portion of the factors of production, we can package everything from motion control, if need be, to this virtual set capability, the stage itself, camera equipment, lensing, and stuff like that, into an attractive, cost-contained package. And our studio, our facility is 12,000 square foot with a 7,000 square foot stage, and it's been in existence as a film studio for over 35 years. So it's plenty of power, lots of comfy places to sit, craft service kitchen, home ec kitchen, balconies, all sorts of places. So you should really check out Cobalt stages. We would chat with whoever is putting your CG set together and suggest to them what is called editable transforms, so that various elements could either be disappeared or they can be moved. Or if you needed to get the camera away and you needed this wall to disappear so you can get a shot looking this way, we can do that. Outside this window is a video screen, and right now there's a, oh, that's a little plaza. Window. You can see live action going on. Very nice, Don. That was right on cue.
Wow.
Outside
Could
the window.
Could I sit on this chair? I guess if there were
an apple box there that were green.
And we're putting a green blanket on this.
Yeah, have a seat.
Oh, wow, look at that.
Have a seat.
That's amazing. And of course, like, oh my God, that's so cool.
So now, while you're sitting there,
Can I still see the bottom of this chair? Yes.
That's an adjustment of the key.
Yeah, right now the key.
That's hard to do.
Yes.
Okay, I've been told that's an adjustment with the key. On the fly, it's hard to do, but how is it done? Like, and how quickly can that be done?
It would take 5 minutes to clean that up. Notice how, in a matter of moments, we were able to ground Kara without drifting onto a chair that's not there. So this is a good example of seeing a CG environment, live action, and also a video playing in the back. Of course, it looks like St. Mark's Place at night, so it's not exactly the most appropriate.
And I'm going to go sit on my virtual chair again, thanks.
But you can imagine that for some applications, this thing would be an amazingly efficient tool. Lenses could be changed, of course. Focus mimics cinematic focus, so if we were wide open on a long lens, the virtual set falls off into soft focus the way you would expect or want it. Oh, and one last thing. We're on a Dana dolly. there's no correlation between the thing that's moving the camera and this technology. You could be handheld, you could be on a crane, a jib arm, doesn't matter. You could be on a little pogo stick, doesn't matter. The way the technology works is that the sensors are tracking gyroscopically angularity and Cartesian space via this little camera. So it has nothing to do with encoding anything. So you don't need a techno dolly to do this. You don't need motion control to do this. Yeah.
So we're going to wrap it up today. Thank you guys for hanging out with us.
Thanks for your patience.
Yes.
I hope you learned something. Call us. Send us email.
No,
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.